Hey everybody, Mr. O'Neill here, and today's TinkerCad lesson in 3D design is going to be the winter snowflake. All right, and I have two different designs here, and they are basically the same exact thing with just a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to show you how to make those today. Now I've already taught this class several times in school, and we've been very successful, and we've been going step by step. So the first thing is I'm going to teach you a little geometry word. Let's get polygon out here. So a polygon is a closed shape that has at least three sides. Okay, so a polygon can be anywhere from a triangle all the way to really anything, but in this case, it's a 12-sided shape. I believe it's a dodecagon. I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure what a 12-sided shape is called, but for this project, we are using an octagon, an 8-sided shape. So basically what I did is I dragged out this polygon, and then when you click on it, this menu appears right under my face there, and you can adjust the sides accordingly by moving it back and forth right here. So I made it an octagon, and I didn't adjust the size or anything yet. I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, drag it out using my arrow keys, and I always tap very hard so that you guys can hear it when I'm actually using those keys. Now, with this second octagon, we are going to click the hole button to turn it into a hole maker. And we're going to click on this corner box, and we are going to adjust the length and the width to 18. We are not going to adjust the height. Okay, so we're making it 2 millimeters smaller on each side. I'm now going to combine the shapes by dragging my mouse over the two shapes to highlight. And I'm going to go over here to my grouping tool, actually my aligning tool first. I'm going to click align. And let's see, let's look in the front here. I'm going to click on the two middle buttons here and then the middle one over here. Now you should see from the top down that it's perfectly in the center of this shape. So as soon as we hit group, it's going to cut the hole out. Now we wanted to make sure it didn't have a ceiling or a roof, just like we did when we were creating our houses in our cities. We sometimes left a ceiling, we sometimes didn't, we sometimes had a floor, sometimes we didn't. So we practiced that skill. So the last part of this octagon is going to be the height. Now there's two things you could do here. You can drag it down to 2, okay, or you can just click in the box and type 2, hit enter, and it goes down. So that I'm calling an octagonal ring is what I'm calling this. Now, the first thing I'm going to do with this before I move it off to the side is I am going to duplicate it, and I'm going to make a second ring. I'm going to adjust the sizes, length and width. So I click in the box, find where it says 20, type in 50, enter. Go find the other box, click on it again, find the other 20, 50, enter, and let's zoom out so you can see it. All right, two nice size octagons there. I'm going to move them to the side for now. Now we are going to make, excuse me, this piece right here. Okay, this is going to be the arm of our snowflake. I'm going to put that off to the side. And believe it or not, we are going to make that with this box. Okay, we are going to use 3 of these boxes to make this. Okay, well, actually, we're only going to be using the one. We're just going to be duplicating it. So we're going to start with this box. Now, the first box that we're going to make, because I mentioned there's going to be 3 of them, is going to be 2 by 2 by 35. So when I click here, I'm going to adjust the front, which I'm going to call the length, to 2. I'm going to adjust the width over here, where it says 20, to 35, so it goes really far back. And then the height. I'm going to bring this height down to the same size as this octagon. I'm going to grab onto that, and I'm going to stretch it down to 2. Okay, I'll do that kind of in a zoomed area for you so you can see it. So again, excuse me, guys. Remember with TinkerCad, I'm using my right click on my mouse, and I'm constantly rotating my bed. I mean, that is really one of the critical pieces here, is being comfortable with moving your bed and looking at different angles. So definitely work on using that and make sure you're using a mouse. So I'm looking at this top box here. I'm going to bring it down to 2. Okay, and there you go. There's my first shape. That's the first piece of my design, 2 by 2 by 35. Okay, now, no sense making all of it again, so let's just duplicate it. Control D, and I'm going to use my arrows and drag it out over here in the next shape, 2 by 2 by 15. So I don't have to change the other 2's. I just have to change the 35 to 15. There you go. Now, looks like my next shape is 2 by 2 by 10. Let's duplicate this one, drag it out, and let's find where it says 15 and change that to 10. And there you go. There are my 3 pieces that I'm going to use to create the arm of my snowflake. Now I'm going to be teaching you something new here in a second. We're going to be using the mirroring tool. But before that, we need to turn these shapes 45 degrees. So I'm going to try to do a super zoom here for you. I'm going to click on this shape, and I'm going to look for these arrows, the ones that are here on the ground, okay, that have that little 180 turn. I'm going to click, and I'm going to pull it 45 degrees, okay, and the 45 was right there. I was just zoomed in too far. All right, let's do that with this little one. Click, look for these arrows on the side, click again and hold, and then drag until you get to 45. Okay, now that's going to take some practice, guys. Okay, so don't get frustrated if it's difficult. Okay, now here comes an alignment trick that I haven't really talked to you about. We're going to place these arms here, like so. And I'm going to try to get this corner to go to this edge. Okay, so I want you to determine where you put the arms. So if you put them low here, you are going to get this star effect. If you want this effect, then you're going to bring this up higher and this up a little higher. So that'll be your choice. I'm going to make it a little lower so that we can see that star effect. Okay, so now what I will do next is highlight. Okay, drag your mouse over all 3 objects and hit your alignment tool. Now, normally when we align, I'm always telling you to click the dots in the middle. But today I want you to align it all the way to the left. And watch what that's going to do. Okay, it did exactly what I needed it. The corner went right to the edge. Okay, and once that's there, I can hit the group button over here and it becomes a solid piece. Now, actually, I went a step further. I don't want to group it yet. I'm going to undo that. Okay, now I want to create a mirror image of these 2 arms on the other side. Okay, on the left side here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click on one arm at a time. I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. I'm not going to move the shape out. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click this new button here. It's a mirror button. Okay, and it's going to flip it like you're looking at it in a mirror by clicking these arrows right here. See how it turns red and then I click? So it just turned the duplicating shape this way. And now I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard. Watch or listen to. I'm hitting the left arrow to drag it over to where I want it to go. And there, boom, it goes right in. Okay, now over here, let's do it again. I'm going to click on the small arm, Control D, go to the mirror tool, click it, and click the arrows right here. Then, with your own arrow key on the keyboard, move this over. Okay. Now, just like we did with the right arms, if we want to make sure we're sucking in that snowflake all the way, so we are going to highlight one side of this arm. And when I say highlight, I mean select them all, right? So there's a way to do that because if I just draw my red circle, it's going to highlight the whole thing. I only want to highlight the left side. So I'm going to hold my shift button down. So I have my finger on shift. I'm pressing down. I'm now clicking on this arm, and the middle arm. Okay, now notice the difference. It's only highlighted here on the left. Now if I come over here to my alignment tool, I'm going to align it all the way to the right on this right side with this dot. Click, went into place. Now, I'm going to highlight that whole arm like this, and I'm going to hit group. Now I have one arm of the snowflake. Now, I need to make a full arm here. So let's move this over, and let's do Control D and leave it for a second. So I have a second arm sitting there. Let's use that mirror tool, which flips it. And let's click those arrows and flip it. See how it flipped? And now I'm going to drag it out with my mouse, and I'm going to connect it with the other end. Oh, too far? Back. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight those, and I'm going to group it. And now look, I have one big one. Now let's think back to if you have already made your thing, the turkey that we made. Okay, if you already did that project, you'll remember this trick. We're going to do our duplicating trick. We're going to click on the arm. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate. And without clicking off anything, I'm going to pull my arrow and do 45 degrees. Just like that. Okay, actually, I think I needed to go a bit further. Let me undo that. Get a better angle. There we go. I can actually see it. 43, and I'm just going to type in 45 there. Okay, so that's 45 degrees right there. I was correct. So now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back and do that one more time. Okay, let's try it again because I have to do it all in one motion. I'm going to click, Control D, turn, 45, and now remember, don't click off anything. You should still have everything highlighted. Now I'm going to hit Control D again and Control D again. And look at that. It repeated the pattern and duplicated and made this really cool looking snowflake. Now, let's bring our items back in. I think that looks cool there, and this will look cool here. And to make it fit for sure, what we're going to do is highlight that whole thing, and we're going to align it right here, and check it out. Okay, last step before we group the whole thing, bring over a little tube here, put it on one of the ends. You can shrink that tube down to 2. Okay, and a little trick here again, use the black boxes to shrink it, black boxes to shrink in, black box to shrink in, and then use your arrows to make it aligned with the edge. Highlight the whole thing and hit group. All right, and there you go. I think it's pretty nifty. And these actually print pretty easily on the bed because they're such a flat, easy print to do. So, hey, if you have some successful ones, send the link to me by email. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I suggest watching it by watching portions and pausing it and then trying it yourself. Unpause it, listen to the next step, try it yourself, pause, and I'll see you in class.